Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Battle Wounds Podcast. It's just your boy Amos St. John.
And it's your boy Tank.
Welcome to Battle Wounds Podcast, man. We're so glad that you've tuned in. We're back on another episode. But before we get going, I believe we may have some new people who so happen to tune in. Do me a favor.
Like, subscribe, follow, and let's have fun with this.
Let's come on, y'all. Press the subscribe button, man. Join the army if you haven't. I know you've been thinking through it. You know, you just kind of like, window shopping, whatever. Just go ahead and just join the army, man. Battle Wounds, we live. We are real. We having great convos, and we're growing. So go ahead and press that subscribe button right now.
And it costs absolutely nothing to support.
Free 99.
And make sure you share it with your friends and family, because I promise you some of these topics will hit home for everybody.
Ooh, yeah, today's topic's good, y'all. I think this is going to be a good one. But let's go. Last week we talked a little bit about, trust issues, man.
Man, hey, it's the most common thing in the world from, growing up.
Yeah.
You always going to have that trust issue after, your first fall, your first love,
Whew, listen, listen, man.
Hey,
it's hard
first football game, you like, man, do I trust my O-line? No shots at the Cowboys. Just saying.
Bless their heart.
Bless their heart.
Bless their heart. The Cowboys, bless their heart.
And on Jerry's birthday?
God.
Yeah, they lost the way they lost on Jerry's birthday. Sadly.
That's crazy. And Jerry was not happy. He
he was.
Radio host, man, talking about how you gonna get him fired. I'm like, golly, bro.
Man,
Dang. Anyways, that's sorry, Cowboy fans. Us Ravens fans over here, we made the turn.
Hey, God bless it.
Listen,
God bless it.
Listen, we made that turn.
It got hairy for a minute.
Listen, we were we looking good, man. So shout out to all the Raven Nation. We on our way, y'all. We on our way. It's like, I'll be honest, man. Since we Ravens fan, dog, I'll say for the record, man, I won't rest until we beat the Chiefs, yo. That's the ultimate true.
You said beat. I want to bury them. I just can't. I can't stand the narrative right now. I can't stand the narrative.
Listen, I know there's a bunch of Chiefs fans out there. I know quite a few of them.
I do too. This doesn't mean that I don't love you.
Yeah.
As a person, I just don't agree with your choices. Okay.
See, us Ravens fans over here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a Ravens podcast. Let me stop. We're not Ravens, but we support Ravens. So, but seriously though, like everybody's like, we're the best team in the NFL, which is cool. I don't feel it until we beat the Chiefs. Then I'll be like, all right, yeah, because we got slaughtered. Well, not slaughtered, but we.
Let's hold on. Let's replay the last play. Look, Isaiah Likely caught it, and they tried to call him out, but he was in. But
it was before that, because it was like he threw the pass to Flowers, and he missed him. But it was a couple of plays that could have won the game before that last play. So that's why I ain't really tripping about that, because we lost it several plays before that one.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can definitely agree with that.
But anyways, this not a sports podcast. But anyways, listen. Go back to last week's episode. We talked about trust issues. I brought out a very sensitive a series of events that happened in my life. And, it reminded me, and it kind of falls in to today's topic, Tank. I'm just happy to be in this healing journey, dog. Like, the fact that I can talk about uncomfortable things and not be, like, triggered or, pulled back. Like, that's a good feeling, dog.
Amen. It's invigorating to be able to take a fresh breath and be able to say, you know what, I made it past some things, and I grow. Thank God for growth. Listen,
I had a session with my therapist today, man, and this was the first one in like 9 months, bro. And we had to do a recap, and I was fortunate to really, really go over some things, and it was like, yo, I've come a long way, man. Like, I had to kind of give myself a pat in the back, and it's like, to talk about uncomfortable things, when you're going through it, it's not the most fun. It's horrible. It feels like the world is ending.
It does.
But when you get through it, because you're going to get through it, y'all. If you're listening or watching and you're going through a tough season, I believe you'll get through it. The key is that you believe that you're going to get through it.
Exactly. Can nobody believe it harder than the person that it's affecting?
Listen, so I wanted to encourage you. This episode today, we're going to talk about healing. Like, there's 5 signs that you're healing well. You know what I'm saying? Like, and last week when I talked about experiencing a breach of trust, you know what I'm saying? Dealing with someone going through an affair, an emotional affair, however, that's, for a man, that's probably one of the top most disrespectful things to ever.
It is, because it hits you different, man.
Bro,
like, it hits you to your soul, your core, man.
Like, for women, I can't wait to have women here to kind of share their perspective of going through, experiencing a breach of trust, a betrayal of some sort. But for a man to go through it, which is very rare, honestly, let's land here for a second.
All right.
Socially, that's not a common thing, man. A lot of men won't even want to admit it.
Yeah, because they're afraid to show a level of vulnerability, and the fact that we're raised as a dog eat dog world, you can't show any type of weakness, or you gonna get consumed by whoever or whatever's around you.
Because I had an observation, even when I was going through it, and went through therapy or couples therapy. It almost was, I don't want to say it felt like it was a joke. Maybe it was the wrong therapist, but I felt like they didn't take it serious. Because I was like, imagine if the shoe was the other foot and my partner was the one that got cheated on. That we would have had, I would still be in therapy.
But you know what? It's like this, man. Society takes a different look when we're hit comparatively to when they're hit. It looks completely
That's
different.
crazy to me. And when I was going through it, that was a thought like, yo, if the shoe was on the foot, I would be the devil right now. Like, I would be on the boo-boo list. But since it happened to me, it was like, okay, how did you feel? I felt, okay, moving on. I'm like,
exactly.
Hold up. Yo, I got feelings too, dog. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and it just brought a very interesting, in being, introspective and looking back, it's like, man, that's interesting. So I know there may be more men that have gone through situations like I have and won't necessarily admit it or share it because it's vulnerable. It's, shows, I don't want to say weakness, but it's kind of like, yo, like but I don't feel like I think it was freeing. I think, to say, hey, yo, listen, I'm a man, I'm a manly man. I don't got no issues or ego issues. But yeah, I've been hurt. I've dealt with trust. I deal with trust issues.
Yeah.
And does not take away from my manlyhood. Yeah, I know internally there were times where I felt emasculated, like, dang, yo, like, but doing the work.
Yes.
Helps you realize it's not when someone betrays you it's really honestly not a reflection of you.
No, it's really how they feel about themselves.
That part. And so like how I've been able to get to where I am today was the fact that I was just like, yo, I didn't take it personal. I look at it as like, you know what? Let me continue to do the work for myself and forgive the person who betrayed me. Don't forget now. That's not something I won't forget it, but it don't sting. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't hold it and weight me down. Some people have the ability to forget, but I forgive and move on and grow from it. And so look back, I was able to talk about it and it didn't send me down a dark hole or anywhere. That shows or gives a great example of what we're talking about, healing.
Exactly.
Healing.
You can forgive, but don't forget.
You better not forget if somebody violated you, you forgive them. But yeah, it's, you know what I'm saying? I feel like only God could throw things in the sea of forgetfulness. Like,
yeah. Sometimes you pray for it too.
Yeah,
like, I don't want to think about that no more.
But healing, and there was a peace that like come over my heart. That's like, yo, Amos, you've come a long ways, and now I still got ways to go, but to go through what I've gone through. And to still be able to talk about it and help someone else who may be going through it, male or female, to know that if you do the work, if you trust in God and, do the necessary steps and looking at yourself, forgiving and moving on and, you can achieve a space of peace and walk in a certain level of joy and happiness and freedom. Yeah. And that's the goal of what I feel like in this podcast is to help men or women to really like walk in that freedom. You've overcome some wounds, you can overcome some hurts that can appear to be detrimental in society's eyes. but with the proper resources and helps and support, you can overcome it and be whole again. You know?
Yes, sir.
And so I really want to talk about, 5 signs to show that you're healing. 5 signs that you're healing, and I think one of the first things I talk about is that you become more aware of your emotions, dog.
Yeah, emotional intelligence is key in that situation, man, because if you don't have it, every time that something happens to you that may be along the line of what possibly have happened, you're triggered. And you, instead of thinking on a logical sense, even though you respect your emotions, think on a logical sense and be like, hey, look, I got to separate myself from what I initially felt and understand where I'm at right now. And again, emotional intelligence doesn't take away from any type of logic. It's actually a logical way of thinking of emotions. Good. So that you're not sitting there like, let's say somebody hurt you and you're not going to take that anymore or anybody like that. Now, I admit that I'm hurt in that situation. I'm going to be smart enough not to let the person approach me in that situation or anybody in that sense to approach me in that situation without me being cognizant of, hey, they may or they may not. Let me not react. Let me be proactive and tell them, hey, look, this is how I want to be talked to. This is how I want to be communicated to, comparatively to let me just, man, what you talking about? Get out of my face, man. Like that don't solve nothing. It literally makes you look, I'm gonna be honest, immature.
Yeah,
it really does. You can't have a conversation with somebody and be emotionally intelligent enough to check yourself.
That part
in that situation, accountable for your emotions. You're not accountable for somebody else's, but your own.
That's why in this social media space and YouTube age that we're in, from a viewer's point, I can look at people who hold conversations and you can tell like, oh yeah, they got some work to do. Like you can tell, because especially how they respond to stuff, you're like, ooh, they are not emotionally intelligent. Like then they got some work to do, and it's not judgment, but it's like I'm aware because I'm doing the work. Like, I can tell like someone who may not be doing the same work. Like I said, ooh, they hurting. You can look at somebody like, yo, they hurting. Just how they respond. They don't operate with a certain emotional intelligence. You know what I'm saying? And they speak from such a pain. Like you can feel the pain that I'm like, ooh, they got some work to do. And so like social media is full of that, and I consider myself an empath. Like I feel other people's pain.
Same.
And so it's like I a lot of times I just scroll past, or I may just shut it down because I feel so much like, yo, that person needs help. Like I wish I can give them a hug, because it's like they going through it, but they got to do the work. Like that's for me. Like I'm not talking from a place of being self-righteous or boastful, but I'm speaking from a place of freedom. Like, yo, now I still got ways to go, but I'm in a place that I can sit and celebrate.
You're speaking from a place of healing. That's the difference. You're on a journey. Now, I want to say this as a disclaimer. Nobody's exactly 100% healed from everything, and let alone it is a journey. It's something that you're going to have to constantly battle with internally sometime. It doesn't matter if it pops in every week, every other day. It may not pop in for another year or two, but it is a consistent level of growth that you have to achieve, because when somebody throws something your way that reminds you of what bothered you from the get-go, it's gonna hurt again. It's gonna show its face.
That's why I said the word sting. It's still sting, but sting does not necessarily. It doesn't ping as hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm that's the reason why. Like, I'll be honest. Like, I took a break from the dating scene because it's like, yo, I feel like I still have some work to do, and I'm in a good space that I feel like I can start re-entering again. But I'm not rushing, because I'm like, yeah, I kind of like this piece. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like this. I like this, but I noticed like having certain conversations with females, like it gets a little triggering, and I find myself getting defensive, you know what I'm saying? Because like, when somebody come and start harping on a subject that they're passionate about, or you can tell like they haven't fully recovered from it, and they speak from a place of hurt, man, and they end up trying to almost trigger you. And I've gone into quite a few of those spaces, and it's just like, yo,
for me, if it's like I can say for myself, let me not make a blanket statement, but I can say for myself, when it comes to when I'm talking to a lady and she's becoming combative with the conversation, and I have not became combative or raised my voice, because I really don't raise my voice. My dad doesn't raise his voice, so I was taught not to really raise your voice. You can still get your point across without yelling at somebody and screaming your head off.
Can I purpose more here? And I would love for a woman to come on this podcast and help me debunk this, because I've dealt with several women that have this issue. When we're talking somewhat passionate, they basically accuse you of yelling at them. But you can see.
I'm gonna be quiet,
bro. That's why I want a woman to come here and kind of bring a female perspective. But us as men, like what we consider yelling, you know what I'm saying?
It's a tone and aggression that you come with it.
But the thing is that like us, like for women, this is my perspective, and I could be completely wrong.
Okay.
But sometimes when women come up to, when I'm having a discussion with a female who has trauma, like from a male, whether it's a father wound or some, you know what I'm saying? I think if it's not necessarily properly dealt with, anything that resembles, it automatically triggers them like, oh, stop yelling at me. I'm like, I'm not yelling. I'm speaking like a man. Like us talking this way may be a trigger to a woman in this space. Be like, can you talk a little softer? Can you talk a little? I'm like, but
I think it's more in the sense of they don't feel like they have to protect themselves in that situation. But when it comes to a male in that situation, they may possibly have to, like you said, it may be trauma or maybe something that's triggering them in that same space. And I get that.
Yeah, I have compassion for it, but it's like. I see that more often than usual these days. Like, and it's like I'm curious to figure out where that come from, because it's like I know when I'm yelling. I know you know when you're yelling.
But let's be honest. This day and age, a lot more people are more emotionally driven. I'm not going to call you sensitive at all. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, everybody needs to respect emotions and be able to respect, everybody else's in that sense. But more people are so emotionally driven instead of thinking logically in that situation. I could be saying something to them and they feel like it's a personal attack. But I'll tell you this, a hurt dog will holler. And that's just what it is.
Bruh.
If I'm saying something that doesn't even have your name in it, but it's hurting your feelings, and I'm not talking about you, something talked to you. Yeah. And it's attacking your emotions when it's not about you. Remember, the conversation isn't always about
that conversational intelligence, man. Like, and that's probably one of my biggest observation, and it's caused me to kind of pause in this dating scene, because it's like, yo, I love a very emotionally, conversationally intelligent woman. You know?
Oh yeah, it's nothing more beautiful than that.
Yeah, it's nothing more beautiful because they are not so quick to take it personal. They're not so quick to attempt to emasculate you. Because the reason why I brought that up, and I apologize for cutting you from that.
You all right, my brothers? Preach.
Listen, because when you said like you're talking to them and not yelling at them, but some of them still interpret as if you're yelling at them, and you're looking at them like, I'm not. So it almost, if you're not properly in your mind realizing that, it almost emasculates you and makes you be like, kind of soften up even more. And I'm like, that's not, you know what I'm saying? Like I found myself when I was dealing with the people pleasing side of me. Yeah. To please them, I would soften my approach even beyond my level of comfort. And I feel like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's just like, yo, now that I'm healed and I'm healing and I'm moving forward in life, if I were to encounter that, I no longer take it personal, but it's kind of like, I want to talk about like I'm curious to feel like, is that coming from a place of trauma that caused them to feel like the way we talk, or sometimes how passionate we become, it appears that if it's intimidating, or it's, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's weird sometimes. And I'm like, man, what's the root?
It's coming from a place of trauma. I'm gonna bank on that. Yeah. Because when you're in, the place of healing and knowing that you're healing, you can have a conversation with somebody, not feel attacked.
That part.
To that point where it feels like I can't finish my conversation with you because now I have to play damage control. Yeah. And I can't have that full conversation and express myself to that degree so that I feel like I can get what I need to get out and I can heal from what it is. And that's again, that goes both ways.
Truth.
But at the same time, we're talking about what we're experiencing in that sense. Like I don't really have that. I don't have those conversations with guys, but when I do have a conversation with most of my fellas, when it does stuff like that, they don't have that reaction. So when I do have a conversation with a lady and she has that reaction, my healing has taught me to be like, okay, let me go ahead and step back with this conversation. Now, mind you, if I did make you feel any way disrespected or hurt, I do apologize for that, because that is not my intent at all. But at the same time, I do need to express myself and let you know how I feel about the situation before it turns into something that it doesn't need to be.
Because like, if you're in a relationship or building a relationship and it starts off like the first few times, okay, you back off and you soften up.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a habit to the point that you can't even express yourself freely. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's almost gaslighting. Like you're angry. And I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just talking like a man talks, you know what I'm saying? But you said, stop yelling at me. I'm like, but I'm not yelling at you. I'm just talking passionately. And to the point that you start back, you know, it's a feeling like, golly, maybe I need to, you know what I'm saying? And it's interesting. And I've had that for years, this kind of like, how do you address that? You know what I'm saying?
But the thing is, you also hit the nail on the head. Like, again, when you're in a healing journey, you don't react the same way that you do when you're not, or when you were still living in your trauma. They may have had a conversation with a man who is about your size or bigger, and they got really aggressive in that situation, and it made them feel not safe.
Understood.
And uncomfortable. So they start reliving that in their mind to a point where it causes them to react in that way. Or, I did say or they don't want to take the accountability for what they did. And yes, I said it. Okay? Trigger warning. Trigger warning.
Accountability.
It goes both ways.
Coming back to that word, accountability, goes both ways. Bro. It goes both ways. But listen, I can't wait to bring the females on this podcast, and we can listen, because it's not a one-way street. Like,
it's not.
So we are willing to have a conversation. Now, again, conversation is a two-way street, a dialogue. We're not gonna be out here, you know, speaking. You know how some
ladies, we're not speaking ill of you in any way, form, or fashion. So what we're talking about is our experience.
From our perspective,
we do know for a fact that not all women are like that, and we have respect for every single woman on this earth.
Period.
What we're saying is that what we experienced from what we have dated, talked to, express any source of emotion, we've ran into some that are like that. So again, this is a place of respect. We're not saying anything that is disrespectful or anything like that. We're just saying what we have viewed. Just like y'all have viewed or seen something that maybe we have not experienced or we overlooked, because at the end of the day, we don't have conversations like that with guys on that situation, and it affects us that way because our emotions aren't in tune with him like that. It's different. Like, you know what I mean? I'm look, it's part of life. It's gonna be a, you know, a back and forth in that situation. But the idea is, when you have that healing that's taking place and you're having those conversations, you have to be able to say that emotional intelligence is stepping in and speaking to what is supposed to be and staying on that subject, not, oh, it hurt my feelings because
your tone.
He may not say that it's me, but I feel like he's talking to me, and he may not be talking to you at all. He may be talking at you like, hey look, I just had this moment where so and so bothered me or whatever, and maybe he didn't state that, but he's really just trying to get your view on how things are comparatively.
Yeah, I think it's just awareness. Like, I think back to the point of like signs that one of the first sign we're back to our first point is basically saying, out of the 5 signs, we're saying 5 signs to show that you're healing. The first sign is that you become more aware of your emotions.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what we're talking about. We kind of been stuck on this point of emotional intelligence and awareness, but it's important. And when you realize you're in the journey of healing and you're in a good space in your healing, when you come across someone who is not as in that, you can sense they're not in that journey, the same journey.
Yeah, we're gonna say that very not in your journey,
not in the same place in your journey.
Exactly.
You can tell, like, ooh, because you do the work and you kind of recognize, not judge, but kind of recognize, ooh, I think they need some work, and so you show them compassion. But when it becomes a weapon, when it becomes a way to emasculate or to just put shame or condescend,
there you go,
to someone, that's when I'm kind of speaking from that perspective. But I'm a person that like to operate with compassion. If someone feels like my presence or the way I'm speaking, if I'm speaking in a passionate way may create discomfort, I am respectful enough. He's like, yes, ma'am, I will pull back. You know, my country, I will pull back and be respectful. I oblige.
Bike.
You know, it's like so. But when it becomes like a weapon to control or to manipulate, I'm curious to find out like what's the base with that. You know what I'm saying? Because there are someone who may use that as a weapon to manipulate a man to make him feel less than. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many ways. That's why I said I would love, and we'll have an opportunity to bring female here, a female perspective to share. You know, to have this conversation to provide it, because we can't speak on y'all behalf. You only can speak about how we feel.
We're only speaking on our behalf.
So that was the
respect
first.
to y'all.
Yeah,
respect.
You know, so that was the first one. Second one is. Out of 5 signs that you're healing, the second one is you're able to set boundaries without guilt.
And that's one of the hardest things to do, because most of the time those boundaries are with your loved ones or people you care about. Because
you doing the healing work, you know your boundaries. Like, I think in reflection in my life, and like I said, you know, listening to last week's pod about, you know, talking about trust issues and people who violate boundaries or betrayed, you know what I'm saying? You notice, first of all, at the time of the violation, you probably didn't realize there was a boundary.
Exactly.
And so that's how they were able to kind of freely violate your boundary, because you never set one or recognized one, you know? Now you do the work and you realize, like, okay, these are my boundaries. I am comfortable to set them. Hey, even though I love you, but I still got boundaries.
Yeah. And
that's a good sign that you're healing right there.
But it's the ways that you also set those boundaries. You don't have to be overly aggressive to do it. And I think that's what causes a lot of people to have problems when somebody does create a boundary and they're like, oh, well, you didn't have to say it like that. Well, I said it in multiple ways and you weren't trying to hear it. And now sometimes you have to raise the tone up a little bit to let them know, like, hey, I'm not going to take this anymore, especially if you said it before.
Especially someone who was manipulative or gaslighting you. Like, there are some people that they don't have the best intent, or they just don't, they're not the most, they're very toxic. There are toxic people out there, y'all, you know, that like to use different methods of manipulation. You know, we bring that word narcissistic, you know,
tendencies. Yep.
There are people out there that have these ways of manipulating you, and when you finally realize, like, yo, I will no longer allow myself to be manipulated. I have to set boundaries. That's part of that healing journey, and you don't feel guilty about it, because I think they used to thrive on the fact you felt guilty when you put a little bit of boundary, and then you relinquish the boundary because you felt guilty. You know what I'm saying? And they take advantage. Nah, set the boundary. Do it without guilt. Matter of fact, be happy. Like, no is a full sentence.
Yeah, and
no is a full sentence.
And the thing is, I think it's more the fact that those people who are doing the manipulation, it's how when they were younger, they garnered attention.
There's a root,
yeah. That's their trauma, is that they garnered attention that they weren't getting from somebody by either making somebody feel bad, teasing, bullying, all that other stuff to try to manipulate somebody into believing their way, and that's the only way they felt that they were being heard. And look, I'm telling you, my job has a lot more psychology in it than most people understand.
Listen,
I'm trying to tell you.
Get people to reach their goals, it's going to require.
Oh yeah, man.
I think a lot of personal trainers are borderline psychologists.
People give your personal trainers more respect, because at the end of the day, we listen to a lot of the problems that go on, and we start putting 2 and 2 together. Now, we may not be psychologists because we're not in that situation, but a lot of us who are degreed and gone through some type of training, we do have some psychological background in there. So just be careful, because we can tell the same way. It's like,
you ain't fooling them.
You can't be personal and not know something about your person.
That person, right? That's real. Like, and you know, that's true.
Yeah,
that's very true.
And with the healing aspect of, you know, people overstepping boundaries, it's like people get really upset and become defensive and become offensive whenever they start getting those boundaries put up. But it's okay to set them, because you got to remember, what you may think is a loved one for you may not actually be the person that you think they are. Because if you love a person, you're willing to hear them out and be able to not react in such a negative or offensive way when they say, hey, like, hey, what you're doing is hurting me. Can you stop? Or like, hey, you know, bro, hey, sis, hey, you know, hey, babe, don't do that, because that really hurts my feelings, or it really annoys me, or really bothers me. Can you stop doing that? And you'll feel a sense of shame whenever it happens, but take it as they're trying to express themselves.
Yeah, and give them that compassion.
Exactly.
That compassion, that grace, space to share, a safe space. Be a safe space.
Exactly. A lot of people want to say that they give a safe space and don't even know what that person's view of a safe space is.
Yeah, and you know, I want to have another part on that safe space part, because especially when it comes to marriages, I can speak from a person who's married for a while and no longer married, but you know, it takes two. Like the whole working in marriage thing, like it takes two to really create a safe space. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really, like we said, happy spouse, happy house. Like, you know what I'm saying? I think that we got to debunk it's all on one person. Like, you know, it's the man's job to provide.
Just go ahead and say it. Happy wife, happy life is not a life that you want to live. It's happy spouse, happy house.
I mean, both people got to work at it.
Both people need to be happy at the situation. We need to debunk that and get rid of it.
Because I could recall in my journey that, you know, there was an expectation for me to provide a space, a safe space in my household, and I felt like I did. But what happens when, as a man, you're burnt out?
That's a lot. Hey, there's a lot of guys like that.
They are burnt out. They don't even got the energy to provide a safe space for their own self. Like, but there's this expectation, because you're the man at our house. You doing that. You need to give me a safe space. And I'm like, you know, some men are like, yo, I'm burnt out. Like, I'm paying all the bills. I'm doing all the stuff for the kids, and I don't got time to even do stuff for myself, and this and that, boom, boom, boom. That's where it's like I appreciate people who can hold space for both. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And not pour on, like, so it's like, if you're gonna put expectations on your partner, your family, or whatever, make sure you're not contributing into the dysfunction yourself.
Exactly. So I got a question for you. So, from previously being married, how would you set a boundary now if you were dating somebody?
Well,
how would you do it in a way that would be respectful and speak to the person without making them feel like they were offended or attacked?
It's all about conversation. I love clarifying conversation. Like, you can learn a lot about a person in conversation. You know what I'm saying? And so I think I've been able to communicate a lot through conversation. Like, hey, I like my me time, you know what I'm saying? And I like my time when I'm tired, you know, so like to clear my head. I like to provide clarity on my intentions, like in managing my time and space. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can be a people person, but there's some times where I'm an introvert. Like, I need to be left alone, you know what I'm saying? Like, and anybody with conversation on chance can read it well. If I'm telling you, I'm an introvert at times and I have extroverted ways. So it's just understanding when people speak. And then I could be more specific. Like, listen, there's sometimes I need some quiet. Leave me alone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I am at a space now. I'm not. I am very comfortable in establishing boundaries on the get-go, because I'm not in that space of people pleasing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I am not in a space, I'm no longer trying to be accepted, you know, like beg for acceptance. You know, like, there was a part of me that you know, I'm speaking therapy terms, that young child, that young 12-year-old boy in me was dying to feel accepted. So I'm willing to bend my back and basically operate with no bounds to feel accepted. Because it was an identity, you know what I'm saying? Now that I've disempowered that as a young child, now I'm like, listen, take me, this is how I am. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I have these parts, this part of me, you take me, you know, there's no point of, like, I'm not trying to fake the funk. Like, take me as I am. I'm being authentic.
Well, I think there's a lot of people who are like that. Well, in general, when you're in that adolescence, you want to fit into a group, and whoever happens to be the head of the group at that moment, which they try to tell you that there is. There's usually somebody who acts out and garners all the attention because maybe they're not getting that attention at home, or maybe they feel like they need that attention to make them feel whole. You don't have to fit into that narrative, but you want to, because you want to feel with that popular situation. But popularity is in the eye of the beholder.
But as a kid, we were not, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you didn't properly process that in school and college and growing up as young adult and now full grown adults, it carries into your relationships and wanting to feel accepted. And I think for me, I am comfortable in establishing the bound. I am not just comfortable, I am confident.
There you go. Confidence is key.
Confident. Yo, and I'm talking about this. I'm walking in a new level of freedom because I started loving myself, Tank. I keep bringing that up, man. This is like the fourth episode.
There's nothing wrong with loving yourself.
But I love it. I love it because this is how important to loving yourself is, because it helps establish freedom and confidence. And so if I am talking to a young lady, there's a confidence, say, hey, I'm Amos St. John. I love to love, but I love me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, and I love me to the point where if I need some quiet time, nothing against you, I'm going to have my quiet time.
Don't they always say, love thy neighbor
as yourself?
But how are you going to love your neighbor
if you don't love yourself?
I'm trying to tell you. People listen to that.
Man,
they tripping.
It's free. The healing journey is so freeing, y'all.
It is.
I don't know. I don't know if you can feel the excitement in my voice, in my space, because let me be honest, and I said it before, it's been hard. I've had some difficult and dark times that I had to navigate this year, and to get here into the space where I'm like,
I will tell you this, bro. Watching you go through the process, when I was even going through my process.
Yeah.
A lot of y'all people don't know about my process. I'll bring it to the pod another day, because that's a whole different thing. But it's the reason. It also is the reason why I healed. I am proud of you for healing the way that you have, because just listening to the light in your voice coming from where the darkness you were speaking is night and day, literally.
Listen, this guy, you know, not a lot since moving to Dallas. You know, I have my bros in, you know, in DC and Maryland, like DMV. That's my fam there. But like coming in Dallas, this is like my fam right here, and so he's literally seen firsthand, like my journey, like. You know what I'm saying? Besides him or Gracie, like you know what I'm saying? They've literally watched me go through the highs and lows and the lows. And so I speak from a space of like, yo, if God can bring me through, he can bring you through. So I feel like now that I am on the other side of it and I'm entering to a different chapter, I want to help somebody else. Like, yo, like this is how you get to the space of freedom. Now, it does not erase or eliminate trials or difficulties.
I think people think that. I think they believe that wholeheartedly. Like they're like, hey, look,
I just want to get to the other side and let it disappear. It doesn't disappear.
It doesn't disappear. It stays there. And sometimes you have a relapse.
Yeah, but you respond to it differently.
Just being honest, you have relapses. Yeah. I have relapses.
I do. It you know, and it goes. I was just I have a prayer group that I'm at, and the guys in there was saying, man, I'm having a tough time, and he's a leader, and it was so freeing to hear the guy who's leading it like, yo, I have my moments where I am not as strong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, it's so freeing in honesty and authenticity. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this podcast is about that authenticity. Like healing is a journey. It has its highs. It has its not so, it has its lows, but there's a freedom in recognizing like you have the tools to navigate through them better because you've gone through the healing
exactly
journey. And so setting boundaries without guilt is a freeing thing. Like, no, I can't help you. As much as you can, but you got to say no, because it's like you realize like when you overextend yourself for people who are not as grateful, and then the people who really matter, you don't have enough. How many, you know what I'm saying?
How can you pour from an empty cup?
That part. So you got to set boundaries without guilt. That's healing. That's freeing, you know? The third thing is this Tank, this is gonna butts my tail. I almost cussed. You're not afraid of solitude anymore.
Now y'all know me.
Uh-oh.
If you really know me,
let's sit on this one for a minute. Let's sit on this.
I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yo,
it's pure honesty from my soul. I do not mind being by myself, and it's no disrespect to anybody. I love my people.
Yeah, but
I've always been that way.
For real?
Yeah, man. Like, I don't have to be in a group of 1,000 people. I'm gonna say solitude, like to a point where I'm in my apartment. When I lock that top lock and that bottom lock, I'm locked in.
Yeah,
I'm not finna do anything else. I'm finna have my solitude, and I'm cool with that because I can think better.
Yeah,
I can sleep better a lot of times, and I can kind of explore my emotions and my thoughts without having too much outside just noise going on, and it allows me to make better decisions sometimes. And it's okay to want that solitude, even if you're in a relationship.
True.
The solitude means I need some quiet time to myself. So it doesn't mean you have to be literally alone all the time, but hey, look, I need to go fishing. I need to go shoot some pool. I need to go just be with nature for a little bit. Just kind of do something for myself. That solitude is important for your own development and growth.
And I'm honest and I'm authentic in this pod. I struggled for a long time, I honestly majority of my adult life, with that solitude. Because even being in a relationship, I felt alone a lot of times, and I struggled with that. I thought being in a relationship or being married would solve loneliness or solve not feeling alone. And
it can make it worse.
And so, even in recent years, after post-divorce, and dealing with that loneliness, I found myself trying to jump into a relationship or trying to get, to fill that void of, I don't want to be, man, you talking about, I am in no rush to even talk to, I am so free in solitude, because it's like, I love myself. I'm not afraid to sit in that space of silence, of solitude, of quiet, of no distraction. You know what I'm saying? I don't even got to think in solitude. I just got to sit and enjoy loving myself. If it's time with God, time in meditation time, you know what I'm saying? I love it. I look forward to it, because it's I no longer am dependent or codependent in having a dependency on being connected with someone or somebody, you know what I'm saying? Or, having someone to fill that space to make me feel happy or fulfilled, you know what I'm saying? That, I think that falls into the abandonment issues and my mother wound stuff. My mother wasn't bad. She didn't abuse me, but she passed away when I was relatively a young man. And that left a huge void. And it affected my decisions in relationships. Or, you know what I'm saying? And now as a 45-year-old man, I have confronted that. And I've looked at it and said, you know what? I don't want to make a choice out of a very unhealthy, unhealed space anymore. I don't want to jump into another relationship from an unhealed space. So in order to deal with that, I got to respect and embrace solitude.
And most people think that it's always a physical solitude. That's not the truth. It's also an emotional solitude. That part. That's what we're talking about. Because the thing is, emotional solitude is, I just want to worry about my emotions right now, and I don't want to have to worry about anybody else's. And that's where your single journey is. Yeah. So I'm single. Yeah. So I like my emotional solitude because I was in a relationship for 7 years in my prior relationship. And sometimes, a lot of the times, I would never worry about myself. I would always be worrying about everything else in that situation. So my emotional solitude was very slim to none and very, just very inconsistent. And that's when I stopped worrying about myself, and I started to notice that I was starting to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks. I was just noticing fluctuations in just how my overall feeling was. Other life things that happened, throughout my family and just throughout the time, it's like that emotional solitude. Hey, let me worry about myself for a little bit.
It's nothing wrong.
It's nothing wrong with that. Like God sometimes puts a break on a lot of things that we do.
Jesus did that when he left his crew to go to the Garden of Gethsemane to address his thing. He's done that a lot of times when he's just left the disciples elsewhere and say, I'm just gone.
Because you could literally be poisoning the batch the whole entire time because you need that solitude.
Yes. But I struggled with that, Tank. I struggled with that. I put myself under pressure to say, hey, I got to fill this void. I don't want to be alone, or I feel, but in this year, 2024, I had to confront the root of that. Like, why am I trying to jump into another relationship to not feel alone, or to like have someone, that's cool. To like companionship is cool. Have a desire. I'm always happy. But like for it to do it from an unhealed space almost creates. Basically, today's, man, I'm almost bringing up my therapy session today, but basically, there's one thing my therapist said today. He's like, let me bring that up, bro. I hate to do it, Tank, but I'm gonna have to bring it up, man.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
It was so freeing when he said that, and so I'm giving y'all free game. So this is one thing. I'm just gonna give y'all one thing he said. Okay. If you don't provide new application, you will constantly exist in replication.
Do y'all understand what he's saying?
If you don't provide new application, you will constantly exist in replication.
Isn't that also what they call the definition of insanity? If you keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, you are insane.
And so that's where I was this year. I was like, yo, I gotta break the cycle. Like I gotta break. And I had an episode when I was playing keys, and I talked about breaking a cycle. Like I was triggered. I was in a space, I went through a lot of that. I gotta break the cycle. Like I don't want to keep making the same mistakes based coming from an unhealed space. And so to get to the space where I'm at, I enjoy solitude, quietness. I don't get it often because I got a dog and Gracie's with me a lot of times. So, but when I have solitude, and you're right, sometimes solitude, it could be in the midst of noise. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it could be, it's just a state of space where you are connected with yourself and your emotions, and you are experiencing inner peace.
I get that when I do my walks in the morning. I ain't gonna lie, man. Yeah, that's why if y'all ever see me do that hashtag consistency,
y'all
in that 3 miles, maybe 3.5, sometimes a little longer, so maybe a little shorter sometimes. Yeah. I'm literally in solitude thinking. Like people think I got something blaring in my ears going 1,000 miles an hour. Nah, man. Sometimes it's just quiet.
Yo, I'll be even when I'm working out. You've been thinking my playlist on my ears is just like, I got a little trap music or something. Nah, sometimes it'd be like some quiet, like worship music or something. Just totally
man.
Because it's like
I'm throwing some R&B or some neo soul or something like that.
Chill,
conscious something.
Like something. But for me, I am not afraid of solitude anymore. And that has been freeing in my healing journey. And so that's a good sign. I first talked about you're becoming more, one sign is you become more aware of your emotions. Second sign is that you are able to set boundaries without guilt. And then third sign is you're not afraid of solitude anymore. All right. We got 2 more. The fourth one is you are more compassionate with yourself.
Being able to forgive yourself for past transgressions and making mistakes.
Like it's not a perfect, like, listen, you're not gonna bat 100 every time. You're gonna run into, even in this journey, I have come short many a times. And you just got to be compassionate. Give yourself the grace. Be like, I am a perfectionist when it comes to like, okay, I got a goal. I'm going to do whatever it takes to.
Right.
But like you realize, like you're not perfect. The only person a human that came in human form on this earth was Jesus. That came here. He was perfect. But you're not perfect. So you're subject to make mistakes. You're subject to fall short. Be compassionate with yourself. Even if you go back to that toxic person and have a conversation, man. Give yourself compassion. Like, all right, I slipped up and, subjected myself into that environment. All right, give yourself grace. All right, but don't do it again.
But it's a habit, brother. You know what I mean?
It's a habit, and it's hard to break habits. Yeah,
you have to break habits. And thing is, I think a lot of people, they take all their information and all their news and how their life lessons of that all from social media. You know where I'm gonna go with this for 2 seconds. It's like literally stop thinking that everybody on Instagram, on TikTok, on Facebook, or wherever you get your social media needs from is not going through something.
That part.
Because they're only going to show you
the highlights
and the good times. And, oh my God, my life is so perfect and this, that, and the other. They did not show you the hoops they had to jump, the obstacles they had to climb, and the tears that they cried, and what really it took to get there. Because a lot of times if you saw that, you wouldn't tune in at all, because you'd be sitting over there paying attention to, oh my God, their life is so perfect. I got to be like them. Couple goals, life goals. Have your own life goals and your own couple goals.
It's good.
Keep your stuff off of Instagram and all the other stuff, because to be honest, you'll be happier that way. You really will. Stop trying to compare, because comparison is what? The thief of joy.
Listen, a lot of stuff that I post I don't really post, like, I go through a lot of great stuff. Great stuff is happening for me.
Oh yeah.
I barely post any of it. Like the other day, like I took Gracie to the state fair, but Gracie and I do a lot of cool things that I don't post about. Like, I mean, like we have our weekly daddy-daughter dates. That's one thing as fathers, especially girl dads. You gotta date, like you gotta do. If you got multiple girls, and my prayer goes to, but you gotta show them time, daddy-daughter time. There's like, what I'm saying. So I'm going off a soapbox, but like,
it's all right.
Like the highlights that I highlight on my pages are just a tidbit. Like there's more, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I said that not to be boastful, but to kind of say like, listen, like I practice what I preach. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Some people do the opposite. It's just like they show the highlights and hide the low light. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, it's like I try to be as consistent of my life is on social media and is to my real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, like that's just how it is. Cause I lived a life where I was suffering in silence, but publicly I was celebrating, and that was it was bad, and I don't ever want to be in that space again. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about authenticity, and so I try to replicate or just try to show as clearly that I'm living a good, clean life. Like I'm good, and like what you see is what you get. And in the moments where I fall short or I may not be perfect or whatever, hey, I give myself the compassion because I'm human, you know what I'm saying? And that's it. Like, not like I said, I'm a pastor. I have to hold myself to a higher standard, and I am comfortable in that higher standard. Like, I don't hide, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know how to have fun and don't feel guilty about it. I know how to go, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not gonna be out here being, ratchet.
Hey man, we all had them ratchet times.
Yeah, I had my ratchet days, but they're falling off.
I'm just saying, sometimes being ratchet is a little bit fun, but now
ratchet is subjective. But
it really is.
But we're
not doing sexy red stuff and all them crazy. No, that's not kind of the ratchet that we talking about.
Ooh,
but stepping out of what that you know, and just doing stuff that you know is wrong, just to satiate a moment.
Mm-hmm.
But give yourself compassion in that same sense, because let's be honest, we all want to have fun, we all want to enjoy life, and sometimes some people are thrill seekers and
they go on the edge.
You're gonna make mistakes and you're gonna live your life to the best and to the fullest that you can. So don't sit there and dwell on it. Oh, I made a mistake here, I made a mistake there. It's part of life.
Listen, it's just healing also alters your appetite.
It does.
Meaning that those toxic and bad things that you used to crave when you were on your unhealed journey, you no longer really crave it. And so you probably won't even be doing the same things or wanting to do the same old things, the toxic things. And so that's not even part of my notes, but like you don't crave, your appetite changes is a good sign that you're healing. Because you don't crave this toxic stuff, like it's just, you just love peace, you love quiet, you love no drama, you know what I'm saying? Like
exactly.
And for me, I'm so thankful for this journey, you know, and I'm showing myself the compassion, you know. And so the final number 5, you have a renewed sense of purpose.
Man,
I feel charged up.
I'm gonna tell you that right there hit home. It really did.
I know it would.
Yeah, man. Because sometimes when you focus so hard on, you know, past relationships, and the length of the relationship, and the pain that came with it, the joys too, but the things that you needed to work on and you needed to heal from, and then you finally, it's like, you know, breaking out of them chains and being like, I'm back. I need to make something happen. And you know what? I got a purpose. I need to push for it. I don't care who's gonna get in my way at this point in time.
Go.
I done got my strength back.
That feels so good.
You know what I mean? I'm telling you, it's literally less like breaking that chain that they've been holding you back. And it's not the person, it's just the pain, the anguish, the unforgiveness, the attachments, the everything that you felt that has weighed you down. You thrown that off and able to move forward.
Woo, listen, man, you gonna make me feel like I'm preaching, brother.
Hey man, preach, brother, preach.
Once I addressed my attachment and detachment issues or styles, whatever that you know call it, and experience of freedom. First of all, you recognize that you still have an attachment. I think that's part of the healing process, because when you're not healed, you're operating in a very imprisoned mindset emotionally, and you know what I'm saying, like you're still chained to something, chained to something or someone. Exactly. But once you start doing the healing work and working in the process, and part of healing is detaching from the thing or person, place, or whatever, and freeing yourself from the codependency of that situation, you start experiencing a freedom and recognizing your self-worth, your self-love, your purpose. Like, you are on this earth not to be suffering from something of your past. You are on this earth for a purpose. A purpose. You are honest. You have a reason. You have a why. All of us have a why. Find your why. There's books on that. Yeah. And for us here on this podcast, we have gone through so many things in our life to the point that we are at a space that we're free because we're operating in our why. Like, we are on this earth for a reason. And the underlying reason is to help people. Yeah. His is in a different industry to help people. Mine is in a different industry, but it's still the same purpose.
It's united by the need and want to help people. Man, I'm trying to tell you, like, once you break that anxious attachment style that the majority of people have to what they think they need and what they think they want in that situation, because you always got to check on something. You always got to do something. Sometimes you need to refocus on yourself and refigure out why you do what you do. Listen. And once you heal from that, I'm trying to tell you, once you heal from all that trauma and all that drama and stuff like that came with it, and you're able to kind of say, you know what? This is my purpose.
That gets you to wake up every morning.
I'm trying to tell you, you wake up renewed and you have a different level of energy with it, man.
Listen, I love your consistency post, because that's indication of, like, you are understanding your why. Like, you've been at this thing for a while, dog. I'm trying to tell you. Like, I see every morning. If you don't follow his IG, follow Tank_Ray right now and just watch every morning. He is literally posting his journey, consistency, and that's an indication of connecting to your why. Like, he understands his why. He understands, like, my journey is going to help someone else get into their space. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm trying to tell you, man.
And even for me, like, where I am now versus where I was 6 months ago, it's just like, I recognize, if you see my bio on any of my socials, you'll see this phrase, a creative communicator. I was in Colorado in March at a gig, and you know, Colorado got a lot of mountains, and I like going to Colorado at times. First, because, you know, it's just higher elevation, it's cool, it's different. And I spent some time looking in the mountains, and God was like, you need to go back to your first love. You need to go seek me first. Like Matthew 6:33, seek ye first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all his things will be added unto you. So go back to your first, because I was trying to figure out, after I left my last job, take the leap of faith, where do I need to go, Tank? Like, what do I need to be in film? Do I need to leave the music and do that? So it took me a while to figure it out. It was not, I went to March, I was in Colorado, and it's like, I never told you to abandon what you've been doing the whole time, was music. And you know what I'm saying, like, you could add film, but your heart is in music.
Yeah, like
that's who you are born to be. Don't abandon that. And that's when I went viral, dog. Man. Right after that opened my mind, like, never change who you are, dog. Like, you've been doing it all your life. Why change and abandon that and do something new? Like, go back to your first love. So when I figured out wholeheartedly my why, Tank, that's when things just blew up. There was a clarity in my life. There's a clarity in my journey. And so I walk with a renewed sense of purpose, because it's like, I know my why.
And I definitely get that, man. Like, I'll tell you, every time I think about, not gonna lie, stepping away from the fitness industry and doing something different and just kind of trying to reinvent myself, somebody or something brings me back. And wow. I'll tell you the funniest thing about it, like, I think it was like my 33rd birthday or 32nd birthday. I went out with my buddies, was having fun, and we were gonna get into a certain club, right? It's an after hour spot. Everybody wanted to go, and I was talking to one of the security, and some dude popped up out of nowhere, and then nobody knew. In the back of my head, I was like, you know what? After this birthday, I'm gonna probably step away from what I'm doing in fitness and try to go get a job that's something different. Just kind of just a different area. And some dude, I don't even know the guy, popped up and he's like, "Hey, you Tank Ray, ain't you?" And I was like, "Who are you?" Like, and not a disrespectful way. I was like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Nah, man." He's like, "Bro, I watch everything that you do on IG, bro, and it was what kept me going, man. Like, it got me reinvigorated back into what I like with fitness, and that you just kept it 100% real. That when you ain't having a good day, you just ain't having a good day, and you humanized it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or like, it just kind of hit me a little different, and it's like, dude, if anybody know me, I'm more introverted than anything. I'm an introverted extrovert. Like, or an extroverted introvert. I like to be to myself a lot more, but the thing is, I'm extroverted when I need to be. Yeah. But like, him saying that, he didn't understand that he fed me more than I think he knew that I fed him. Yeah. In that situation, because
you were at a point where you was gonna
exactly.
Drop, you know,
like, it's a different feeling, and that's when I knew that was my calling. No matter what situation it is, it's gonna end up in that way of like, okay, bring health and wellness back. Yeah. Try to get somebody to be healthy. How many lives can you change with that? What can I do to make somebody's life easier?
That's good.
How can I help somebody live longer, be able to walk with their kids, be able to rehab, be able to just have a better headspace, keep somebody from doing something they shouldn't be doing that situation.
Yes, sir.
Just because they're in better health, they're in a better mindset. Dude,
powerful.
I'm telling you,
that's walking in that re-energized, reinvigorated sense of purpose is such a great indication that you're healing. And for me, is that I get a DM, "Hey man, that video you playing that hymn reminded me of moments with my grandma. That was my grandma's favorite hymn, man. Like, thank you. Like, you bring me great memories of like my grandma, my mama, or my dad used to run around the house humming this hymn, and you playing this song on IG remind me of that. Thank you." You know how many of those I get ever since I walked in my purpose? People were like, "Yo, thank you." Like, I've gotten millions of views. And you know, one of the biggest freedom thing is that I thought I played horribly. Like, I be on keys, like, man, there's some guys on that got comparison that plays all. Man, there's some guys out there that could play circles around me, man. But once I did that work and realized there's only one Amos St. John in this earth, and that's who God chose you to be. Regardless of how you feel, they may be somebody that can run circles around you in skill, or do something better, but they can't do it like you. They cannot do you like you.
There's
do
only
you.
one.
There's only one you. And from that moment, I've been freed. I can only be me, and I'm only going to do me. That's a renewed sense of purpose. I can't be a Corey Henry. I can't be, God rest his soul, Cornell Gaskins. I can't be like my big brother, Jamar Jones. These are all amazing musicians, extremely skillful musicians. I can only be Amos St. John, and that's who you're going to get every time.
Man, I'm trying.
That's freeing. And no more comparison. No more comparison. I'm going to be me. You call, you request for me, you need for me, you're going to get me. You're not going to get anyone else.
Exactly.
You request for Tank and his services, you ain't going to get no one else but Tank. Because we walk
the good and the bad. The good and the bad. I had to throw it out there because best believe it's all good to the good, but at the same time, y'all gonna dislike me sometimes. I'm gonna be on your case worse than you gonna be on your own.
That's your job of a person trainer, man. So they're not here to be your best friend, because you definitely haven't been my best friend a gazillion times, and I'm thankful for that, because I'm able to navigate pain better.
Exactly. Pain is healing.
Pain is healing. That's another part. But nah, man, this healing journey is amazing. It's not easy to get to this place, but signs as you are navigating this healing journey, these are the 5 signs. You're able to navigate through your emotions. You're more aware of your emotions. Second, you're able to set boundaries without guilt. Third, you're not afraid of solitude anymore. And fourth, you're more compassionate with yourself. And 5, you feel a renewed sense of purpose. That is so amazing. Once I realized, thought through these notes and really meditated through this stuff, man, with Tank, we talked about this earlier today. It's like I'm able to give an account for all of those. And like, I still got ways to go, but it made me excited. Like, yo, I've come a long way, and like, I'm not where I used to be. Like, there's progress, and I'm gonna keep doing the work.
Remember, when y'all go to therapy, just because the therapist tells you, you know what, there's nothing else I can do for you in that situation, you have gotten a good hold on it, that does not mean stop the work. Going to therapy is great, but if you're not going to do the work, you're going to literally be doing yourself a detriment.
So I did therapy 2 years from before I got divorced. Like, it was 2 years, so 2021. End of 2021 towards the end of 2023. So that's 2 years. I am a note taker. So I take notes. All of my sessions, I have it almost like a diary. Like, I have 2 years of notes from each session. It's October, so the last 9-10 months, I have not been able to afford therapy. Like, because, I've been between jobs. Now I'm in a space where I'm working again, so I can afford therapy. But you know what sustained me?
What?
I kept doing the work. Like, the notes that I took for those 2 years, I was able to carry them over for 10 months, basically. I kept doing the work. Like, I didn't just leave it. Okay, yeah, that was what I talked about in that session. I'm able to like use these tools. Like, it doesn't stop at the moment. You got to keep doing the work. Like, so I say all that to say is, like, even when you stop going through therapy, you still got to pull back on, like, there's tools that you got to continually use.
It's like watering a plant. Because the thing is, if you don't water that plant, what happens? It dies. So it's the same way if you're out there and you're tilling the field and you're sowing seeds. If you don't water, it dies. You don't get to reap what you sow in a good way. That doesn't always mean a bad thing when someone says reap what you sow. Yeah, it's always. The thing is, if you are sowing good seeds, you will reap a good harvest. Yep. But if you're sitting there letting it die and be barren, it's gonna be that way. I'm telling you, I self-check myself every morning. I get my dry erase board. I'll go completely blank and I'll write out what I need to do to work on myself. But that comes again with that emotional awareness. Yep. When I really had to check myself and be like, don't point the finger at anybody else but yourself first. because at the end of the day, you are what you allow.
Yes, sir.
So don't allow somebody to be like, oh, it's your fault. It's your fault. No, I need to blame myself because I'm allowing it to happen.
Yes, sir.
And once you finally get that situation in tow, yes, other people have, some fall in it and some little piece in it. But at the same time, ultimately take ultimate accountability for yourself in that situation.
Man, brothers, if you're listening, listen. Accountability, self-accountability is huge, man. Like, I know many of us may be in fields where we're praised and elevated and given, you know what I'm saying? And that might give us a sense of, almost a false sense of, like, I'm good. But sometimes you got to be able to look in the mirror and be honest with yourself. Like, I'm not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I need to work on this. There's like, you never get comfortable, you know what I'm saying, or stagnant. Like, there's always room for improvement. And there's always time, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's always have that awareness just to knowing, like, okay, I can't keep my foot off the gas. I gotta keep moving forward. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, pedal to the metal.
Pedal to the metal. And so, but you gotta know there are moments where you gotta ease off the pedal now. All right, now we can't. We're not like machines or robots, but it's just awareness and keep doing the work. That's basically all we're saying. Like, even when you're healing and you've reached a certain height in your healing journey, it ain't time to just ease off. You got to stay alert. You got to stay woke. Like my thing, like, you got to stay woke. You got to stay aware, and you got to stay with your boundaries. You got to stay, you know what I'm saying? Like, all those things you got to keep sharp. And because if you don't, you'll find yourself going backwards or falling back to old, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so keep doing the work, but take time to celebrate your wins, whether they're small or they're huge. Your progress. It's a beautiful journey. It's a journey. It's literally a journey. And so don't stop. Keep going. You may have moments where there's slow progress, there's no progress, but there still has to be movement. Like, you know what I'm saying? Do work what you got, you know. I know I come across quite a people who are going through difficult times. But the key word, there's a key word in the phrase I said, going through difficult times. The key word is going through.
Not stopping. Not getting stuck.
So
not pausing. It is getting through. He didn't say over either.
Yeah,
because getting over means you can fall back right into it. You got to get through it.
So this is it, man. This journey is important in your freedom, in your growth, in your graduation to the next level. I'm so glad that we are able to share from our personal experience. I hope you got some nuggets. I even gave y'all little nuggets from my own personal therapy session that I paid big money for. Y'all getting it for free $99.
We call it free gang.
So please do not let it go to waste. My therapist will be upset because he loves the fact that I'm sharing this, because it's like, again, like he encourages me, like, you got to share it with people, like, you know what I'm saying, your journey. And so please take this and you know, use what works for your situation. Not every situation works for everybody, but my experience, Tank's experience, we've gone through stuff, we've navigated through difficulties, and we are here to help the next person. That's part of our purpose. We are here to help people. And
yes, sir.
Battle Wounds Podcast is here to help you. Whether you're man or female, there's something you can take away from this.
By all means, don't be afraid to leave comments.
Yeah.
Because we take that as y'all really listening, and we want to be able to listen to y'all in the same sense. And
it's important. And so we always say our phrase is health is wealth. That's it. Like, this is the whole purpose of this podcast, to really emphasize that health is wealth. Not chasing skirts, not chasing money, not chasing notoriety. Health is wealth. And so that's all we have for you today. This was another great conversation. We're almost at the tail end of season 6, man. We got, I think, one more episode. I think we may 1 or 2 more episodes to close the season. And then we're going to take a little break and come back with season 7. But there is so much that has happened in season 6, man. We dropped some serious game down here, man.
I'm trying to tell you, these free jewels, man. Y'all need to go ahead and start taking advantage of it.
And through my life, y'all get the benefit from what I've gone through. You get the benefit of what he's gone through. Prayerfully, hopefully, avoid some of the stuff we've gone through. Because
I'm trying to tell you, ducking and dodging.
You learn from someone else's experiences, and you'll get better. So again, we're so thankful that you tuned in to Battle Wounds Podcast. And I'm your boy Amos St. John.
It's your boy Tank.
And remember, health is wealth. Until next time, y'all have a good one. See y'all next time.
Y'all be blessed.